I think any pumps in the market today could be for shorting. Guys, this is the daily entry. I'm bringing you day trading setups, NASDAQ, Dow, oil, gold, and BTC. Let's go. So just a quick recap from yesterday. We actually hit 4 out of 4 in the end. That NAS short zone played out. We hit the Dow. We hit the Bitcoin short live on the show on the 𝗪𝗪𝗙𝗪𝗪 YouTube yesterday. And gold has just given us a little scalp. So all of that work has got me back to 200%. I'm now coming third in the trading competition and currently nursing a NASDAQ short, which I'm going to talk to you guys about in a second. Now, one of the bangers yesterday was that Bitcoin short. And remember, guys, you can watch live trading every single day on the 𝗪𝗪𝗙𝗪𝗪 YouTube. You just need to click the link that you see floating around over here, and that'll take you into the 𝗪𝗪𝗙𝗪𝗪 live trading. We do that most afternoons, Monday to Friday, at around about 5:30 SAST. So you can catch us there. Then in terms of, well, let's take a look at this absolute Pico top yesterday. A little short move, and let's see how this played out.
Oh,
guys, I don't even need a B anymore.
Okay, so little moves, guys. Remember the rules of engagement here. We want to get 2-to-1, 1-to-1 trades. If something's cooking, maybe leave a portion to run. If you've got any positions that you're prepared to let ride, higher probability when the oscillator is overcooked, and don't overtrade. We can't get it right every single day. Like we've had a good run here. We're nailing some entries, but 1 or 2 of the days it might be off. Okay, so if things aren't going your way, just take a break. Remember, I'm back every single day bringing you these setups. Okay, so let's start with the big stuff. This is oil, and this has obviously been a massive marker for us over the last couple of days, and you can see what's going on now. This gap has now been dealt with on oil. This is the 8-hour chart that I'm watching. Okay, so what's next for oil? What do I see happening next? So there's a couple of scenarios here. We do have some bearish prints on the oscillator, but you can see we are getting a slight toe curler here at the moment, and that might mean they are going to push oil slightly higher, and that simply takes us into our major rejection zone, 87 to 88. This is a big marker for me on oil, guys. If you're wondering when, if the market is falling over and you're wondering where it could potentially reverse, 87, 88, that is going to be your big reversal zone. For other markets, that's a possible rejection there for oil. And then obviously lower time frame stuff, we can see we've got our wick highs, we've got our 50-day moving average. You might find an oil rejection in that zone later on today, and that is around 84.7. So in terms of today, I'm not looking for any shorts on oil, and I'm simply using that as a guide for some of these other markets as things go. In terms of my oil long from yesterday, that is still in place. So I've got orders floating around that 78 region there for oil, looking for a bounce in that zone. So if oil drops, that is where you're going to get your bounce in that area. Okay, let's look at some of these YUBIT situations here. You can see I'm nursing a NAS short position at the moment, and you can see how this is the Dow in front of you, and I've got a couple of sell orders in some high conviction zones. And I want to take you through a couple of these plans here. So let's start with the NAS. And I covered this one yesterday, and that short zone hit beautifully. And now this is round 2. So, it might be slightly sketchy on round 2, but there's a couple of things in our favor at the moment. We can see that oscillator has flipped slightly bearish here at resistance. So I have taken a tentative short position in this zone. I want to see how it moves around in this area. I'm not going to be married to this thing too long because I believe we might get some kind of pump today in the markets. Okay, and if we get a pump, I've got a really high conviction short for you guys. I'm super excited about this one, and this is the guy up here, 29,510 into 29,600. This looks like the banger for the day. Okay, we've got a wick fill, we've got a bearish order block, we've got a 50-day MA, we've got a 786. There's so much happening up there that I've got some orders waiting here on the NAS. Okay, looking for that short. Then we've got a second tentative zone where if we get a short little push up in the next hour or two, by the time you're watching this, maybe a couple of hours after that, you might find there's a temporary second push up there in the markets, and we get that rejection 29,230. Okay, so that is how I'm playing the NAS at the moment. Remember, keep your stops tight and try not to get married to these positions, because if you're sitting in a big size and you ride it up here, you're going to find yourself under a ton of pressure. Okay, so looking for shorts for the NAS today. Let's talk about the Dow. Also interesting one here. It eventually dropped pretty big yesterday after giving us a little bounce in our zone. I think our zone was over there. We got that move over there on the Dow, and now we are looking for our next big push to the downside. So in terms of conviction plays today, I believe if the Dow pumps, we can look for shorts, and there's three main zones. Number one is this undercarriage region tying in with the bearish VWAP and that slightly macro 382, that is 52,200. So zone number one, 52,200, look for that short over there. If the market accelerates, we're looking at this undercarriage region over here. You can see there is a 618, and we'll take out that wick in that zone, and this is 52,445 that you are looking at on the Dow as the next short zone. And then the next big one, if there is a hard pump today, guys, this is where you're shorting it, 52,630. That looks like the zone. So there's three strong areas. They can all provide you with a relatively decent rejection. It might be a 1-to-1, maybe a 2-to-1, but I expect these zones to give us some kind of reaction if the market pushes higher. Let's talk gold. Now, I've already been in and out of a little gold scalp out of the zone that I gave you guys yesterday, and this actually took us to 4 for 4 for yesterday's trade setup. So gold is now in the short zone. You can see our oscillator is flipping bearish now on the 2-hour, and I'm relatively confident gold is going to start reversing again in this zone. So if it does climb up a little bit, you might find that they do eventually push this thing down, and I think gold 4,080 into 4,100 is still a reasonable short if there is another push up now to the upside. Then in terms of the next big zone, I've highlighted this one here. There's a nice bearish order block sitting in that zone. 4,140 looks like the next banger, especially if it happens today. If it happens today, you're going to see these oscillators are hot. They overcooked, and then we can look for a nice rejection. So those are the two gold shorts that I'm interested in. Longs down here, but we'll deal with that. I'm not seeing that long coming into play just yet, unless we have some pretty brutal news out there in the markets. Okay, let's talk about the big dog. Now, Bitcoin, there's one trade for me today on BTC. Absolutely smashed that short yesterday. It was a short-term move, but we got what we wanted, and now I believe we are going to get another one on BTC. So what is the planning here today? There's one zone, 67,280 into 67,600, that type of area over here. That is my next big Bitcoin short zone where I think we're going to get a reasonable reaction. Now, in terms of why I'm thinking about that, look at Bitcoin on the higher time frame. I've covered this macro 382. This is Bitcoin on the daily, and you would have seen yesterday I was talking about Bitcoin pushing into 67 and into 71k, and it looks like 67 is now inevitable for us. So the daily says macro 382, macro wick fill over there, and then a nice rejection in that zone. So that is my short that I'm looking at today for BTC. In terms of support that we can use, well, keep it super simple. If there is a drop earlier today, for example, where can you look for bounce longs? 64,860 looks good to me, and then 63,950 looks good to me over there. So these are your bounce longs. The short is the play for me today. We're hopefully going to take this one live on the Chart Hackers YouTube. Remember, just join me there later. We'll be doing that for about an hour. Okay, so we look forward to that, guys. Catch you later. That's your daily entry.